So hi everyone, how's life? I hope you're doing well. This is a new one for me. I'm filming outdoors. I'm currently in our balcony here in Austria. The weather here has been really hot, basically in the past 2 months really, but especially in the past month or so. It's like 35 degrees today and I tried to film indoors but it just wasn't working, so I hope you don't mind filming outside. I'm in the shade at the moment, which is definitely good. And yeah, the only problem is that you might see a little bit of wind every now and again, which is also good. I mean, it's not good for my hair, let's be real. My hair is going to be messy, but at least it means that I'm not hot. Also, there are some kids playing, I think, football or something down below, so you might hear them play as well. I don't know. Let's get to the video. I thought I'd do a little Q&A video because there's been quite a lot of you joining me in the past month or so, so I put a little Instagram story and asked you to ask me any questions that you want. It could be Disney related, it could be related about anything that you want, so I'm going to go through them and answer as many of them as I can. I honestly got way too many questions. I didn't expect to get as many as I did, so if I don't answer your question, I do apologize, but I'm going to try and do these Q&A videos every now and again. So yeah, without further ado, let's get to it. The first question is from Sarah and it says, what's your favorite season at Disneyland? So that's quite an easy one for me. I've been lucky enough to have gone to Disneyland Paris for all the seasons throughout the years, but nothing beats Christmas for me. I think Christmas time at Disneyland Paris is so extra magical with all the lights. I mean, I love Christmas anyway, even outside of Disneyland Paris. I just enjoy that time of year, so to have that added to Disneyland Paris is just a bonus really. Main Street USA looks stunning, and I actually love the fact that it's colder as well in Paris. I mean, I've also been lucky to do Christmas season at Hong Kong Disneyland, and it was hot. The weather was pretty warm there, and to me that just wasn't relatable, because for me Christmas time is like when it's meant to be cold and stuff. By the way, if I get distracted, it's because there are some flies every now and again that just go through. So yeah, Christmas season is my favorite at Disneyland Paris, but I do also enjoy springtime. Disneyland Paris normally tends to celebrate spring with some kind of festival as well, whether it's Swing into Spring or like they had Pirates and Princesses a couple of years ago. So spring can also be a really good time. Spring and Christmas time are basically my two favorite times to visit Disneyland Paris. I've also spotted another person asking the same question, so shout out to Love Main Street as well. I hope that answered your question as well, and thank you for saying that you love my videos. Gris M93 asks, which West End show will you see as soon as they open again? So I was lucky enough to go and see Amelie at the Criterion Theatre a couple of months ago, and that was really good. So that was my first West End show back, I suppose, since COVID. But I do have a few more booked. I've got Cinderella booked, so I'm really looking forward to that. Andrew Lloyd Webber, and of course Wicked as well. It's been ages since I saw Wicked, and that's one of my favorite musicals, so I'm really hoping to get to see Wicked whenever it opens as well. I've got a ticket booked for September at the moment, so we'll see how things go. And yeah, of course I will vlog all of these trips as well. I know that a lot of you have been messaging me to say that you're missing my theatre content, and I miss filming them too. I just miss being able to go to theatre as often as I used to, so I am hoping to, you know, be able to go more often as soon as restrictions lift and things become a bit more predictable, because right now, who knows? Like I said, I do have some theatre trips booked, but whether or not they're gonna happen, I don't know. Again, I hope that answers your question as well, Thomas. Thomas asked, are you planning to see Andrew Lloyd Webber new musical Cinderella? Yes, to answer your question, I have it booked. I think I've got a ticket for the beginning of August, I want to say, or end of July, so yeah, we'll see how things go. Charlie Edwards asked, do you ever imagine moving out of the UK, and if so, where would you move to? Orlando? Well, that's a very good question, Charlie, and yes, 100%. For me, the UK is definitely not my forever home. I only moved to the UK when I was 18 anyway, so I've not been there my whole life. I moved there when I think in 2008. I went to university there, and then I just ended up staying because I enjoyed it at the time, you know. But yeah, I don't plan on staying in the UK forever. I do love London. London is probably the closest home that I have in terms of what home feels to me, because I've lived in so many different places. You know, I was born in Switzerland, I'm Austrian, I live in the UK now. Like, I've moved a lot growing up. I don't ever plan on staying in one place for the rest of my life, I don't think. And actually, for the past, I want to say 3 years, since the beginning of 2019, I've definitely had plans in my head to move soon. I've talked to my friends about it, to my family about it, but obviously because of the pandemic, because of COVID, things have had to be pushed back a little bit. But the place I've been wanting to move for a few years now isn't Orlando, it's actually France. I've been wanting to move to France, somewhere near Paris preferably, but I'd be happy anywhere, to be honest. But yeah, I've been looking into moving to France for a few years now, whether to maybe go study for a bit or, I don't know, work. I don't know about the details yet. Like I said, the pandemic has changed changed things a little bit, it's delayed it, but it's definitely still something that I want to do. Not long term, just for a couple of years maybe even just 6 months. I just want to experience living in France for a while because I love the French culture, I really do, and I think it would be a great way for me to practice my French as well. And of course it doesn't hurt that I'll be close to Disneyland Paris. So yeah, that's that. The next question is from I just want to go to Disney, please, and they say, tu parles couramment français. Pourrais-tu envisager des vlogs dans la langue de Molière à l'avenir? Basically, they've said you speak French fluently, which is very, very kind of you to say, thank you. And then they've asked me if I was consider making vlogs in French in the future, the language of Molière. Premièrement, je veux dire merci beaucoup. Ça me fait vraiment plaisir de savoir que vous pensez que mon français est pas assez mal. Mais je sais pas quand même, peut-être une fois, je devais faire un vlog en français. Peut-être la prochaine fois quand je suis à Disneyland, je peux faire un jour en français. Ça va être bien pour moi aussi parce que ça va me donner l'opportunité de le pratiquer quand même. Et pour moi, comme j'ai dit avant, le français est le langue que j'aime beaucoup. Je l'ai appris quand j'étais tout petite. J'habitais à Genève en Suisse, c'était là que j'étais née. Et là-bas, en fait, ils parlent français. Donc j'ai appris le français même avant que j'ai appris l'anglais. Mais du coup maintenant, parce que j'habite en Angleterre et je travaille en anglais, mes amis sont plutôt anglais, c'est la langue que je parle mieux. Mais du coup, ma première langue est farsi ou Persian. Je sais pas comment on le dit en français. Persian, persien peut-être, iranien. Mais ouais, merci beaucoup encore. And if you're watching this as an English viewer, let me know if you would like me to do a French vlog at some point. Of course, it won't be like all the time because my main audience, I think, speak English, of course. But yeah, I can definitely maybe throw some French vlogs every now and again, especially if I'm in Disneyland Paris. So let me know what you think. The next question I really like actually, and this one is from Adventure is Out There Craig, I want to say. They asked, what Disney song changed your life? I wouldn't go as far as change my life necessarily, but I really love Colors of the Wind from Pocahontas. I think it's a beautiful song. The lyrics really speak to me. It's got a beautiful message. It's like something I think about a lot in my approach to everything in life. I just think it's beautiful. You know, Pocahontas knew what she was talking about. It's good to respect everyone, respect any living thing, as well as like plants and trees and animals, and of course humans. Similarly to that, Rebecca asks, what is your favorite Disney or non-Disney quote? Now, in terms of Disney, I do love basically all the lyrics from Colors of the Wind, but also just around the river bend, there's a lyric in that says, to be safe, we lose a chance of ever knowing. I absolutely love that, and I, again, try to live my life by that, because it's true, you know, what's the point of not trying? What's the point of not being brave and seeing what something could lead to, you know, because if you're not brave, if you just stay safe throughout your whole life and don't push boundaries, you'll never know what's there, what's around the river bend, and I absolutely love that. So yeah, to be safe, you lose a chance of ever knowing is definitely one of my favorites. And I think in terms of just general quotes, I really like the saying, live and let live. So live your life the way you want it to, and as long as it doesn't harm anyone else, as long as you're not doing anything wrong, people should respect you for it. It's your choices, and you should do the same for other people. So don't judge other people because you don't know their experiences, you don't know their situations. Just let them live, let them do what they think is right for them. As I said, unless it's harming you, unless they're doing something that is actually wrong, then I'm all for calling them out, and I actually appreciate people calling me out as well if I do something that's wrong. But as long as people are doing things that are harmless, live and let live is definitely my motto in life. Let people do what they want to, what makes them happy. Even if you don't personally understand their decisions, that's fine. It's not your decision, so let them do what makes them happy with their lives, because you don't know them, you don't know their circumstances, you don't know what's led them to do what they're doing. So yeah, that's definitely one of my other mottos in life. Another Rebecca, this is Rebecca DVX, has asked, if you were to build a new hotel at DLP, what theme would it have? Now this is a really, really fun question. I think I would love for it to be Hunchback of Notre Dame themed. I mean, listen, the film is set in France, it's a big French themed film, so it really baffled me that there's not a lot of representation for Hunchback of Notre Dame in Disneyland Paris. And I know that it's probably too late now and they'll probably never do something like this because the film came out, what, like 2 decades ago, maybe even more than that. I was maybe like 5 or 6 when the film came out, so it's been a long time. But if I had it my way, I would love to have either an attraction themed to Hunchback of Notre Dame, or a hotel would be even cooler, to be fair. They could do so much with the Festival of the Fools in terms of theming for the rooms, for the entrance, the gargoyles as well. It would be a very colourful hotel. I don't know, I think it would be awesome. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. Thank you for the great question, by the way. Next question is from Paul, and he says, hi, it's Paul from Kent. What got you into YouTube? This is a good question as well. I've been doing YouTube videos since I was at university, and I think, genuinely speaking, back then it was because I just didn't want to study, you know? I mean, I did, don't get me wrong. I've been to uni, I've had my postgraduate degree as well, but whenever I wanted to procrastinate, I would just make videos. And I think because I'd only just moved to London as well at the time, I didn't have very many friends. I was still very new to the city, to the country as well, so making videos was my way to talk to other people. And for the first like 5-6 years of me filming videos, I literally just did it for fun. I wasn't making any money from it. I didn't take it seriously. I would just post videos whenever I felt like it. But I've been lucky enough that in the past few years it's become kind of like a side job, I want to say. It gives me a little bit of an income, don't get me wrong, it's definitely not a lot. It varies though, it really does. It depends from month to month, so some months I might be making more than others, and that's just the reality of YouTube. It really depends on the amount of views that you get and also so many other factors. So yeah, it's not something that I can completely depend on for sure, and I don't want to either. But for now, I'm very lucky that it does bring me some kind of money, and I really enjoy doing it anyway. So even if it didn't get me money, I would probably still do them because I just love filming and I love editing as well, as weird as it might sound. Moving on from that, the next question says, are your saves essentially dedicated to Disney trips? Maybe a private question, sorry. No, that's absolutely fine, Luca. Yes, basically yes. Most of my money goes towards Disney trips and tattoos, to be honest. I think in the past year and a bit, because I wasn't able to travel as much, I actually saved a lot of money, and yeah, I spent that mainly on tattoos, and now that I'm able to travel again, I think it's going to be dedicated towards Disney trips, more or less solely, as well as theatre trips once they reopen as well. Sylvia's Rise blog asks, any tips for traveling solo to DLP? Now, I've had quite a lot of DMs about this actually, so I think I'm gonna make a whole video in the next few weeks about my experience traveling solo to Disneyland Paris and some of the tips that I've, you know, managed to gather in the past few years of going solo. And yeah, so look forward to that. Hopefully it will be helpful for you, because as I said, quite a lot of you have asked me about that. Jennifer Brown asks, have you managed to reschedule your Tokyo trip? Now, if you didn't know, I was meant to go to Tokyo and Japan just generally last May with one of my good friends, and obviously because of the pandemic, I wasn't able to travel. It was meant to be a pretty long and awesome trip. Like, we weren't just going to be going to Tokyo Disney, but we were literally going to travel around Japan for a couple of weeks as well. Unfortunately, like many of you, I had to cancel that trip because of the COVID situation. And no, I haven't rescheduled the trip yet, because the situation in Japan, I think, is very different to the rest of the world. They're being very strict with who they're allowing into the country, and as far as I am aware, at the moment, nobody is actually allowed to go into Japan. Even neighboring countries of Japan can only enter Japan through very special circumstances. So I don't know when I'll be allowed to go to Japan, but yeah, as soon as I get some information, as soon as I know when it will be possible to travel to Japan again, then yeah, I will hopefully rebook again. It's definitely on my radar. It's definitely something that I want to do. My friend and I were so gutted that we couldn't go on this trip, but it's something that we both want to do still, and we're just waiting to see when the good news comes from Japan, to be honest. Satina Hall asks, what's your favorite book of all time? That is an impossible question. I don't think I can answer that, but I know that there's quite a lot of you here that watch my book reviews too, so maybe at some point, maybe by the end of the year, I'll film a whole video talking about my top 10 favorite books or something, because at least that seems more possible, because just choosing one book is just not something I can do, I'm afraid. Soph Does Disney asks, how are you behind the scenes and what's your favorite hobby at the moment? Good question, Sophie. My favorite hobbies have always been reading and playing the piano, so those two things are definitely things I do often, almost every day, I would say. I also just love editing, so I edit whenever I feel like it. Even if it's not for YouTube, I just enjoy editing things. I know that might be weird, but I'm passionate about editing and learning. So another hobby of mine is actually learning new softwares, new editing softwares. I did a short course last year on After Effects, which is for special effects basically in video editing, and I really enjoyed it. It was only like a 3-day course, but things like that I love doing a lot, and language learning. So I love learning languages. So in my spare time, I try to read books in different languages, you know, watch videos in different languages that I'm interested in learning, and just doing a lot of practice for that. Steffi says, you've probably done it before, but can you explain your username and why you chose it? I have explained this a few times in the past, and it's not something that I enjoy explaining too much, to be honest, because it's just such a weird situation. Like, I chose my username when I was about 15 years old, so that's 15 years ago, over half of my life before right now. I'm nearly 31 right now, so yeah, obviously 15-year-old me and nearly 31-year-old me don't think the same. But basically, when I was 15, I was going to a Christian school here in Vienna, actually, because my German at the time wasn't very good at all, and so we were limited to English-speaking schools only when we moved to Vienna, and most of the English speaking schools in Vienna were just too expensive for my family, so we couldn't go. Like, there's basically, I think, 3 or 4 English speaking schools here in Vienna, or at least at the time that was the case, and the main ones, the more popular ones, the international ones, were just way too expensive. And so we finally found this Christian school which taught in English, but it wasn't actually necessarily an international school. It was like an American based evangelical school, so it was a really weird school. I'm actually going to make a whole video about that one day as well. But yeah, it was a lot more affordable, and weirdly, because of the fact that it was a Christian school, even though I'm not Christian, my family's not Christian, we thought it might be good because of the values and the fact that we just moved from Iran, so we thought it might be more in line with our schools in Iran. So we went there and I studied there for 3 years, and there was this girl at this Christian school whose email was girl for God at something, and I remember seeing her email and I thought it just looked really cool. I just loved how it looked, you know, the girl, the number 4, and the God. It just looked awesome to me, so I thought let's change that to Sam because that's my name. And then I basically got inspired by her email, I suppose, and I really enjoyed the double meaning of it at the time. I still think that's quite cool, I suppose, because with the number 4 you don't really know what it means. It could mean like Sam for God, as in we want Sam to be God, but it could also mean Sam for God, as in like Sam loves God. So yeah, it's a weird one. Like I said, if I'd chosen my username at an older age, I probably wouldn't have chosen Sam for God, but I've used it for so long now that I guess I'm used to it. What do you think? Dreaming Danny asks, what is a place you haven't been to yet but would love to visit? Now, Japan, which I mentioned earlier, is definitely one of the countries that I would love to visit and I've been meaning to go to for a long time. It just took me a while to save up for it, and then like I said, finally when we booked, we couldn't go because of the pandemic. But apart from that, there's a lot of places in Europe as well, like Norway. I'd love to go to Iceland. I would also like to travel through Asia a little bit, so I'd love to go to like Thailand, Taiwan, you know, South Korea would be awesome, Malaysia, places like that really intrigue me, and Mexico. I mean, honestly, I would love to just visit the whole world if I could. Bandad.aj asks, hello Sam, do you still skateboard? And if yes, will you learn some skateboard tricks? Not really, to be honest. It's been a few months since the last time I skateboarded. I want to get back to it for sure, but I don't have my skateboard here in Vienna with me, so that's still back in London. When I go back to London, hopefully I'll get to go back on it for a bit and maybe learn some new tricks. I'm definitely not very good at it though. I'm still very much a beginner. So let me know if you have any tips for trying to improve on the skateboard. Soph_Amor asks, how old were you when you first experienced Disney parks, films, any photos? I was a child when I first went to Disneyland Paris, and I'm very, very lucky that we were able to go so often as a family. But I think the main reason for it was that because I lived in Geneva in Switzerland, that really wasn't a far journey to France, so my dad would often drive us. We never flew, we never got the train or anything. It would always be my dad driving us from Geneva to Paris when we were younger, and we'd go about once a year, I want to say. And back in the days, we would only ever stay for one night. We'd never stay for longer than a night, and I think at the time it made sense anyway, because back then it was only one park. Disney Studios hadn't really opened until I was older, and yeah, they were some of my most cherished memories. I'm gonna try and insert some photos here now. And yeah, in terms of Disney films, I think like most kids in the 90s, we just had a lot of the VHSs, the Disney VHSs. I remember going to cinema to watch some of the releases, Disney releases from the 90s, like Tarzan, Pocahontas, Esmeralda as well, Hunchback of Notre Dame. So yeah, I think it was just something that was always going to be a part of my life. I really just blame my parents for my love of Disney, to be honest. Cordial Comics asked, when are you next planning to go back to DLP? Soon. I really hope to go back soon. I think especially being able to stay for so long. On my previous visit last month, I realized just how good it is to be back in the parks, and how much I'd missed it as well, how much I'd missed being able to do so much in the Disney park. So I am hoping to be back very, very soon. Obviously, I'm not going to say anything because I don't know, with the circumstances that continuously change, who knows. I do definitely hope to go back soon though, and I'm sure as soon as I do go back, you'll be the first to know. Elizabeth asks, are you watching Love Island this year? Always loved your take on it. Yes, I am watching Love Island. I'm enjoying it. It's definitely not my favorite season so far, but it's still fun. Thank you for saying that you enjoy my take on it. Yeah, there's not a lot of people that I like on it at the moment, to be honest. I do enjoy Kaz. I think Liberty is also really sweet. I actually love their friendship a lot. up, and in terms of couples, I don't think there are very many strong couples yet. What do you think? Let me know. Next question is from Nicola, and they ask, what is your favorite tattoo and will you be getting any more? That's a really difficult question. I think my favorite tattoo normally just ends up being my latest tattoo. Having said that though, there's something extra special about one tattoo that I have over here, which is my Pocahontas tattoo. I got this last December and it's something that I'd wanted for so long, and it turned out much better than I could have even thought of. This was done by Rachel. I'll leave her link down below. If you want to get a Disney tattoo, she's definitely the best person to go to, I'd say. But yeah, definitely planning on getting more tattoos in the future. I've got like a list of tattoo ideas on my notes on my phone that I go back and edit once in a while. Like sometimes I change them, you know, I think about my tattoo ideas for a long time before I get them normally. So yes, I do have other tattoo ideas in the future. Also, I just want to give a shout out to a few other people as well who asked about my tattoos, because I didn't realize, but quite a lot of you seem to be interested in them. So thank you so much. It really does mean a lot to me because I enjoy talking about my tattoos. So I'm glad that you're interested in listening to them, because not a lot of people are in my real life. And finally, I think I'm gonna have to wrap this up now. Amy asks, how many Disney trips have you been on? And it's probably not the best question to end this on because it's impossible for me to answer, honestly. And I realize how privileged that sounds. Like I said, I'm very lucky that I was able to go a lot as a child, and I have no idea how many times I went when I was younger, so I can't really count those. And then I've been going regularly to Disneyland Paris since 2013, I want to say. So about 8 years I've been going very often, and since 2015 I've been an annual pass holder, so about 6 years of, again, having an annual pass, of being able to go even more often. So yeah, very difficult to say. And of course I've been lucky enough to go to Disney World a few times as well as Hong Kong Disneyland and Shanghai Disneyland and Disneyland California. So I don't know, I really don't know. Maybe one of you can count it for me, at least from my vlogs you might be able to count. I think with Disneyland Paris I've probably been about 50 times, maybe even more. Yeah, I have no idea, but I don't really tend to count them anyway, because it's really not about how many times you've been. You could have only gone once and still be a huge Disney fan. So to me, numbers really don't mean anything. But like I said, I have been lucky to have gone quite a few times, and that's just because of my situation when I was younger as a family, and also because I don't live too far from it. That is the end of this video though. I hope I managed to answer some of your questions well. Thank you so much for sending me questions as well. Like I said, I'm going to try and do these more regularly in the future, so if I didn't manage to answer your question, don't worry, I'll hopefully be able to answer it next time. Thank you again for all your support as well. Sorry that this video was a bit of a mess, you know, quite windy, and my hair definitely doesn't look the best, but it was the only place I could film. So thank you for watching. As always, follow me on Instagram if you want to participate in my next Q&A, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!